This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Conde.
We hopped off the bus, shook off the dust, took a little time getting all set up. The grass is mowed, the beer is cold, the parking lot might just overflow. In every ballpark, from coast to coast, get the bass warmed up and the guitar started. Yeah, sounds like an American party. It's in our blood, let's get the boys running. We got a little twang with the speakers bumping. Hit it hard, put on a show, get your tickets, y'all, ready to roll. Whoa, welcome to baseball country.
Welcome to episode 58 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host, David Conde.
Hey, Brian.
Hey. Our guest today is Dakoda Grove. And Dakota is an Orlando area native. His father is a baseball coach in the Orlando area, and he decided to follow in his footsteps. So we got an interesting angle there. Dakota's been coaching at the high school level for a few years now, and he's taken over the head coaching position at Foundation Academy, which is in Winter Garden, right up the road from me. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get started, and I don't know if I can say this or want to ask this, but you probably look very young to be a head coach. So I don't know if you're still in your teenage years and you just grew very quickly. I don't know, but you look very, very young, which is a good thing to look young.
Yeah. So I got into coaching right after I graduated college. So yeah, I'm young. I'm about to turn 25 here shortly, but probably the youngest in the area at the high school level coaching, other than a buddy of mine that might have a year or two on me, Tanner Clark at Umatilla High School.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I think the younger kids can relate to you better, being younger, being just, not too far off in age. And they'll probably listen more than the older guys. They kind of like zone out. So.
Oh, yeah. It's got some pros.
So kind of going to go back a little bit prior to your college days, high school days. You grew up with your dad being a coach, right? You kind of traveled around with him. Kind of give us the background of where that started, where you started in the game. Did he ever coach you playing ball? So describe your childhood experiences with baseball.
Oh, yeah. So it kind of started, right when I was born. I grew up in it. My first memories was when my dad was coaching for the Georgia Stars outside of Atlanta, Georgia, where I got to spend my entire summer up there and being around college and above level athletes. So that was a great experience. I know my mom wasn't a huge fan of it because I'd come back a different kid, just being around older dudes and being able to kick it with them all summer. And then grew up going to his games at Timber Creek when he was the head coach at Timber Creek. But he didn't really coach me too much, where he was actually my coach of my team growing up. That really started when I played for him at TFA, where I went to high school.
So when you were younger, did you do travel, rec ball leagues, all that stuff?
Yes, I did. I grew up playing at East Orange Little League, which is on the east side of Orlando when we lived out east of Orlando. Did the Little League scene. Travel ball was kind of just blowing up at that time. Did travel ball, ended up playing for the Florida Burn, and I was on that first team when Power Baseball started. Did that, but he never was actually my travel ball coach. Growing up, he stayed away from that just because kind of both of our opinions. I didn't really want to play for him and have my dad being my coach as a label with it. So that didn't really happen until I was with them at TFA.
Okay. And then in your playing days, what was a position that you had to be on that you loved? It was just something that you brought the love of the game to you. What's your position?
So I ended up being an outfielder, but I grew up being an infielder, and I slowly just got at TFA. We had a couple studs that ended up playing pro ball and playing Division I baseball. So I quickly got sent out to the outfield, which was a blessing in disguise because that's where I ended up playing college baseball at, and I ended up being really good at it. But yeah, definitely got kicked out of the infield, which was probably for the better. Ended up being an outfielder at the college level.
Yeah, I'm well, I didn't play college, I played some high school, but I love the outfield. And I always feel like the game is learned from the outfield. You watch the game and you go out there and you can see everything that's going on. There's nothing behind you but the fence. So the ball goes over your head. It's because you're either too shallow or just it was a shot. But I always teach the kids that I coach, the younger kids, I don't believe in that go to the outfield to be a worse ball player. I mean, I get it. Some of the kids that can't catch, you put them out there until they learn. But I've always started my kids in the outfield and then moved them into the infield. And they had a better understanding of the whole game by just that angle because then they're like, oh, they can see everything that has to happen as the game's going on.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, it's like the transition too. It's like, that I think one of the things that we've touched on with some other guests in the past, David, is the importance of being able to play at all positions on the field, because like you're saying, when you're at First Academy, like you want to play, well, you better find a position to play. You want to, so if you're like, nah, I'm a shortstop, that's what I do. Well, then we might have 3 shortstops ahead of you on the team. So you got to go learn how to play everything on the field and make yourself useful.
Oh yeah, and that definitely translates to college, being able to play multiple positions. Because when you get to college, if you can only play one position, you're in a world of trouble if you're trying to see the field right away.
No doubt. So you went and you played high school ball at First Academy, TFA, and then you went on to play college ball at Bethune-Cookman, which is in the Daytona area, right?
Yeah.
So what was your decision-making process? I like that. We like to kind of get into that with our guests that played college ball. Who were you looking at, or who was looking at you, and what made you decide to go that direction to play at the college level?
Yeah, so I had a pretty quick and easy recruiting process in high school. I was one of those kids that I either wanted to play at Rollins College or UCF. I wanted to stay in Orlando. That was one of my biggest priorities, which looking back, that's not a very great outlook because you're very limited. So I wasn't quite good enough at the time to go play at UCF. So I ended up getting a scholarship from Rollins. So I went there, didn't think twice. Actually committed the same day they offered me at a high school, and Power Baseball was a big reason in getting me that offer with Brian Dempsey, who was awesome in that process. He helped me with that. So I ended up committing the same day. Went to Rollins. Ended up not being a great fit for me. So then I went the junior college route because at the time you couldn't transfer like you can now, where you can just transfer and play right away. So at the time you had to go the JUCO route if you wanted to play at the Division II or Division I level again. So I went and played at St. Louis Community College up in St. Louis, Missouri. Ended up having a really, really, really good year there. Put up some really good numbers. I think I walked away with 6 or 7 offers. But that was a time that COVID hit. So our season got cut, I think, after about 20 something games. And I ended up losing every single offer because they were inviting seniors back. So I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't want to go another year of JUCO and kind of waste a year because academically I already had my AA. So I think God played a huge role in it. I ended up getting a call from Johnny Hernandez, who's the head coach at Bethune-Cookman, because he knew who I was from high school, needing another outfielder. So that just worked out perfectly. And I took the opportunity because I was like, heck yeah, I'm coming back to Florida, getting out of this cold weather. So jumped at twice and ended up having probably 2 of my best years there. and I loved every second of it. So it was an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, wait a second. So you're the guy that didn't want to leave Orlando, right? It's like Rollins or UCF for me. And then you end up going to junior college in St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, that's a big
Oh
change.
no, a lot happened. Yeah, so
Yeah, but you got back to Central Florida.
oh yeah, had to definitely see the difference. Having to plow snow off the field before games, and every
Yeah.
time you hit the ball in BP or in the game, you feel like you broke your hand. Not a
Yep.
fan of that. I was excited to come back to Florida.
Listen, when we were playing the baseball in New York in the winter, because we could only play like the fall ball, play summer and fall, and it's
Oh yeah.
freezing. If your hands weren't stinging, you weren't playing.
Oh
You
yeah.
just had to take it. You had to let it sting and just run it out.
I definitely would have been learning how to play basketball if I was up in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. So as now coming into thinking about you being on the coaching side of the dealing with high school athletes that are looking at, the recruiting process, right? So I assume you're able to kind of take what you learned about looking for schools, looking for places to play, and that's really helpful to just advising or mentoring players into making those types of decisions.
Yeah, I mean it's probably my favorite part about coaching high school, being
Yeah.
part of that process. I know last year it wasn't just me, but I have some great assistant coaches at Eastridge. We sent 7 guys to go play college ball from Eastridge last year, and just being a part of that process it's awesome because it's a dream come true. And then just sharing things that we learned. And then obviously, I think the toughest part nowadays is making kids realistic because everyone wants to play at University of Florida, Florida State, Miami, UCF. So once they realize more realistic options and can get on the same page with that, it's an awesome process to be a part of.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
One of the things we like to ask the coaches is the beginning of it all, right? When it first started, when you decided to to coach, give up the game of playing the game and go transition to the other side of it. So transitioning from player to coach, was that an easy decision for you? Was a decision came because you just thought that was just a way for you to stay in the game? Kind of walk us through that thought process. When did it start? What made that decision? And then how did it come along from that point?
Yeah, so I was actually a business major in college, and that's what I ended up getting my degree in. And I had being around it so much and seeing my dad do it, I had really no desire to get into coaching through college. However, when I actually, let's see, so right after fall ball of my senior year at Bethune-Cookman, I was just long tossing, and out of nowhere on just a single throw, something I probably couldn't have controlled. I probably could have stretched and warmed up a little bit better. I thought at the time I tore something in my left butt cheek actually. Um, so I didn't do much during the winter break, and it was killing me all winter break. I didn't swing a bat. I didn't throw. I was just trying to let it recover by resting it. And slowly my lower back started killing me throughout break. But still to this day, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up tearing 2 discs in my lower back, right off my spine, where I was actually losing feeling in my left leg.
Mm.
Didn't tell anybody because I'm a senior. I didn't want to go down with an injury. So I ended up going, when you get back from winter break, you start, obviously you start practicing and you start scrimmaging a bunch leading up to opening day. And I still remember like this was yesterday, even though it wasn't that long ago. I remember getting back and my swing had completely changed just because of the injury. It was much shorter, a lot less movement. And I remember our hitting coach at Bethune-Cookman told me, man, I can really tell you've put in a lot of work on your swing. It is so much more simplified. It looks really good. That was the only one that I knew at the time. It was because I was swinging at like 30% effort. So I ended up starting opening day, and I did not make it through the game just because my lower back locked up, and I ended up finding out I had 2 torn discs. So got an MRI after that, and was shut down, and was told I was never going to play again, especially because I was a senior, with complications, where I could end up, I guess, paralyzing my and not having feeling in that left leg. So from there, obviously was extremely devastated. I got the opportunity to be a volunteer assistant coach at Bethune-Cookman through the rest of the year, which that's where I realized I wanted to get into coaching. So I got to coach first base and work with outfielders in the offense. And that was just a huge blessing looking back, because that kind of jump started me getting the opportunity to be the head coach at Eastridge last year, with that being on my resume and all the connections I made. That's how it happened.
You know, I see the cross on you wearing the cross and believe you're a man of faith. I'm going to just throw that out there. Sometimes our paths don't go the way we expect them to go. You end up with an injury you didn't expect, and now that led you to what you're doing now. So he guided you where you need to be. It wasn't what you thought initially where you wanted to be, but you're still in the game, and now you're giving back to the game, and you're mentoring the next generation at such a young age, which I think is awesome.
I couldn't have planned it any better. I mean, God's got a plan, and there's no complaining here. So
we touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but kind of give us a little bit of an idea. What is it like coaching at such a young age? I mean, what do you feel like you bring to your athletes? What angle do you approach? We're in a different generation of baseball. So many different things go on now that we didn't think about years ago when I played the games, many, many years ago. So what approach do you bring being this young? Like what can you do that's different than maybe an older coach that's out there, been there for many years?
Yeah, so I think that's just because it's not along me. I got assistant coaches that are all similar ages as me, but I think it's just a unique experience. We just got done with the college baseball process. All these high schoolers are trying to go exactly where we were. So we have a unique experience, because if you're coaching high school baseball now and you're in your 50s or older, or even younger in your 40s, college baseball has changed so much. So I think we have a very unique viewpoint of what college baseball is like. We just went through the recruiting process. We just got done playing. We know what everything that it entails. So I think there's a level of respect that comes with that, because we are just at the level that these guys are trying to get to, and we have a point of view that a 50-year-old probably just doesn't have, because the game changes every year. So I think that's definitely a pro that comes with our age.
Among many things at this age, guys are going to sit down and listen to you a lot faster than most.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier to connect with high schoolers being our age, and we haven't had any issues yet, so hopefully it stays that way.
Well, I would say that's a great point too, about the way that the college game has changed. Just take the transfer portal issue, right? So now, like you said, when you just a few years ago, when you started college, when you left Rollins, you had to go play junior college, right?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't work that way. You enter the transfer portal. I think I had heard from a ball player that was playing college ball last year, that the 7,000 players entered the transfer portal at the end of last season. Something ridiculous. Maybe that seems like a ridiculous number, but it was a huge number.
Oh yeah, most of them are still stuck in the transfer portal with no school to play at right now.
Yeah, so that's the danger of it too, right? So there's risk involved, but it's interesting. So yeah, there's no real experience that an older coach would be able to bring to that process, because that's new for everybody.
Yeah.
It's hard to so it changes the game entirely.
Oh yeah.
So thinking about go back, so early this past year, so this 2023 season, spring season, you were the coach at Eastridge High School. And that's for those that aren't familiar, that Eastridge is in Clermont, just west of Lake County, just west of Orange County here in the Orlando area. And then this summer, you were named the head coach at the Foundation Academy. And those that are familiar, Foundation Academy is a school, a private Christian high school, actually a K through 12, but it's a high school prep school here in Winter Garden. So, so what impacted, my question to you is, what impacted your decision to take this position with Foundation Academy? And what has your experience been like there so far with fall ball and all that? And then what are your expectations and ambitions for the program?
Oh yeah, so a few things went into it. I think we had an overachieving year for the standards that was set at Eastridge, and I brought over my entire staff to Foundation, so it wasn't just a decision for myself, but for
Okay.
three other coaches. But a big part of that was I was actually teaching math last year at Eastridge.
Okay.
I wasn't certified to do math. I was supposed to do PE. So there was a little conflict with that, which ended up getting fixed with my role at Foundation. So that played a big role. Another role that played a part was that it's a Christian school, being able to talk about Christianity and connecting to the players to a degree where I can talk about faith was a huge plus. Location, being in Winter Garden where I grew up, and I think the ceiling at Foundation is extremely high because of location, with it being a Christian school. And the past years, I know 2 years ago they went to the Final Four. Last year they lost in the regional final to the state champion by 1 run. So the talent level that's already there and continues to come and transfer in is very high. So from a career standpoint, it was a no-brainer, although it was very tough to leave Eastridge because of the connections we made with the players. But overall, it's been a very smooth transition. Foundation has been nothing but awesome to me and my staff. Great athletic directors that fully support what we're doing, which is obviously a huge plus. I think the expectations for this year are extremely high because of how much winning they've done in past years, and the talent that we have on our roster to win a bunch of games. So the expectations are extremely high. And we look to continue to grow. I know as a coaching staff, our plan is to try to be the best program in the area in terms of player development. So we've really been advertising that with our players. And we saw great results this fall with exit velocity and throwing velocity and 60 times all increasing. So that was very awesome. But then again, I kind of have this motto that player development is 90% on the player and only 10% on the coach. Our guys are buying in. They're working extremely hard. So it's been very easy because of the group that we got. So again, there's been no complaining there, but with high expectations comes harder work. So I think we're all excited, not only as coaches, but as an entire group, to see what we do this spring.
Yeah, I mean, I think my understanding is this past season, like you said, this for the last year or so, the Foundation has actually produced a number of high-profile college players. Have gone a long way in the postseason at the state level. So I think the benefits of coaching at a private institution versus a public school is your public school, you got your kids that are zoned for that school. Whereas with a private school, with the ability to, you're not pigeonholed with, kids that live in a particular zone.
Yeah,
so
sure.
you can bring more guys in from different areas.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, even at the public school, you're kind of fighting the more established programs. They're getting those kids that are zoned for your school, just because with the new transfer at the high school level. So you're not just you're hoping all the kids that are zoned for you end up going to your school.
I get to stay there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you're fighting that as well at public schools.
True. So that's yeah, I think that's a big benefit. And kids looking to like you said, there's just a more flexibility there, and you have the opportunity, I think, to really develop into like a premier program for the area. Just like your dad has built over at the First Academy.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, kind of bouncing off that point, you also, since it's K through 12, we have a middle school team that's on campus.
Yeah,
You're able to kind of groom those guys into JV players and then soon to be varsity players, which you get them in sixth grade. So you have 3 extra years that you can be around those kids, which really benefits you when it's their turn to be varsity players when they're in high school.
that's awesome.
It's like the minor leagues, right? Affiliated
Right.
organization, top to bottom. You
Yeah.
get the kids, you work them up, and those are your studs coming in for with any transfers coming in, but you have your core, which is great.
Oh yeah. I mean, they already know our plays and our system, so it won't be a culture shock, which is a huge benefit.
So you touched on one thing, which what you want to ask. You mentioned your staff. So did you have the same staff at the other high school prior to coming to the Christian high school, or did you change staff? Did you have?
Yeah, I brought over our head hitting coach, who's awesome. His name is Anthony Dorak. He's also with Power Baseball, and he does such an awesome job with our hitters, and they've really been buying in. He emphasizes the flat swing to the baseball, putting balls in play. He's been awesome. He does far more than he should for a high school assistant coach. He's with them almost every day, even throughout the winter, hitting and doing lessons. He's been awesome. He also does great work with our infielders. And then I also brought over Joseph Sapiro, who is he does most of his work with our catchers because that's what he did when he played. And then those are the only two that I brought over from Eastridge. And then we also brought in Jalen Townsend for this year at Foundation, who played 5 years at Florida Gulf Coast University. So he brings over a lot of expertise as well. So he's been awesome. And then we kept the same JV coach that's been at Foundation for the past few years and kept him on staff. And he's been doing a great job with our JV guys.
So the guys that you have on your staff is the core of guys that you feel are going to help based on what you want to expect from your ball players, right? So you feel like these guys are getting are going to help you get the ball players to that level that you want.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's a very unique coaching staff. Not only because we all have different experiences playing college baseball, but there's a huge level of trust, which I know as a player, seeing different college coaching staffs, there wasn't always that level of trust between every coach on staff because everyone kind of has their own things that they're trying to accomplish. But we all played together. I know Joe Sapiro played with me at TFA, and then I played with Anthony and Jalen with Power Baseball. So we kind of all grew up together, which there's a huge level of trust between all of us, and we all want what's best for our guys. So it's awesome because we're all very close, which I think our players can definitely see that, and they trust us more as a whole because of it.
And I didn't mean to lay out the question the way I did. It wasn't to put you on the spot, but I love your answer. You grew up with these guys, you have a connection, and it's easier to kind of like now, hey, let's get together, let's train the next generation of ball players because of your connection, because of the the competition you guys face against each other. Now you can kind of bring that all together. So I wasn't trying to put you on the spot with the question, but I love your answer, so it was perfect.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. It's just cool because none of us are me guys, so we don't care who gets the credit. We're just trying to win, trying to get these guys better. So it's awesome because I know that can be an issue at times when everyone's trying to get the credit for what's happening, and none of us are like that. We're just really, at the end of the day, just a really good group of friends just coaching together. So it's been awesome.
Awesome. Brian kind of brought it to my attention. I guess in preseason 2023, you faced off against your dad in the game, coach against coach.
Yeah, so I played him last year in preseason and in the regular season.
Okay. So you did during the regular season. So do you foresee that happening again this season? You're going to have a matchup of First Academy versus Foundation Academy, father versus son, kind of like make that whole like a big storyline.
So we're playing them the first preseason game again, first game of the year, and then we have them once in a spring break tournament, And then we're also in the same district. So if things align, I'm hoping we face each other in a district championship. And then obviously this is a long ways away and really good things have to happen for both of us, but hopefully a regional championship to go to the Final Four. But then again, a lot of crazy things got to happen for that to happen. And with baseball, a lot of luck's got to play a part with matchups, and things got to go our way and his way for that to happen down the line. But that'll be awesome if it does happen.
What's the difference in the coaching style between you and your dad? I mean, baseball is a little bit different than you say football, basketball type coaching styles, but like, are you more of an offensive coach, more of a like? And where's your dad sit on that platform?
I think we both kind of look at pitching and defense and stress that a bunch because pitching and defense is going to win games.
Yeah.
And then I think we are pretty similar offensive with offensive mindsets where we want to put the ball in play. If we need to bunt them over, we're going to bunt them over. We'll do whatever we can to scrap runs across. But I'm excited to match up because I know. I'm not sure if he knows this, but I know exactly what he's going to do before he does. I've just been watching him for the last 20-something years.
You've done the scouting report, yeah.
He keeps saying he's got to, because we played him twice in the fall this fall. He keeps saying he's got to change his signs. I said, you don't need to because I already know what you're going to do. So I'm excited. No, both teams should be excited for it. And it's a game that hasn't been played for whatever reason the last 6+ years with Foundation and TFA, even though they've been in the same district. So I know our guys are excited to face their guys, and I'm sure that it's the same for those guys just because of us both being Christian schools and not too far down the road from each other.
I'm sure both your families are going to sit in the middle, and everyone's going to stay quiet. No one's going to root because they don't want to.
They just cheer for everybody. Just,
either cheer for everybody, don't cheer at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Well, it was going back just briefly to the coaching staff, right? So the one thing I noticed, just the numbers of coaches that you have. So keeping a group of coaches that large together is pretty good because, a lot of high schools, struggle to find assistant coaches. They've got somebody to run the program, but they might have an assistant coach here and there come and go. But, the tight-knit group and a larger group of coaches is really beneficial.
Yeah. So it's, I think it's easier because we are younger guys that have a passion for coaching. And then Foundation has done a great job where they've made it possible to get these guys on stipend, which is not something public schools can do, at least in Lake County where I was last year. It's not a lot of money, but it definitely helps when you say, hey, we have this small stipend available for you that most public schools wouldn't be able to offer you. So that's been awesome that Foundation supports baseball and makes that an option. And then I think it's definitely helps that these assistant coaches, they all have their own careers. 2 of them are remote. So they're just looking to add something to their plate, and baseball is what they want to do. They want to coach. So that's been awesome. So again, you can't complain much with what Foundation is doing, not only for myself, but for these guys in our program.
Yeah, for sure. And so, just kind of to wrap up, what are you most excited for this coming season? Obviously you went through the fall, kind of maybe give us a little insight into what the fall looked like and then what the expectations are and the ambitions are as you approach the spring season here soon.
Yeah. So, I think we played a very tough fall schedule. And I think we ended up going like 12-2. We lost 2 one-run games to Apopka, who's going to be a pretty good squad this year. But again, fall ball means absolutely nothing. I know everybody was playing everybody, so were we. It doesn't matter what you do in the fall if you don't win in the spring. But because of the fall and because of the success we've had, the expectations are high this spring. So I think we're all excited. But with the expectations being high, there's a little bit more pressure to take care of business when the games count in the spring. was very excited to see what our pitchers did this fall. I think we had a team ERA of below 1.2. So that makes things a lot easier when your pitchers aren't giving up runs and dominating to the way they did. So I'm hoping that continues when the lights turn on this spring and the pressure turns up a notch. But it's a great group. Excited. I'm expecting us to win a lot of games, and I'm expecting to compete for a district title and make a run in regionals, and whatever happens from there will just be a blessing. But these guys, talent-wise on paper, there's not going to be any excuses not to get the job done and win some games.
No, that's great. We're gonna, like I said, I'm right down the street, so I'm looking forward to high school baseball season here already. I'm gonna have to get out and check out a couple ball games over there.
You live out closer near like Horizon High School.
I live across. Yeah, I actually live across the street from Horizon High School.
So. Okay. Yeah, we play at their place once this spring.
Perfect. I can walk there.
Oh yeah.
So, see, well, all the coaches we've had on the podcast, I'm gonna have to travel from Cape Coral. Spend a week in Orlando and just hit up as many games as I can, because now I got to catch all these games, because it's baseball in Orlando. It just seems like a whole nother level than most parts of this country.
Who else have you guys done in the Orlando area, coaches wise?
So we've had some of the local guys on. So we've had Lassiter on, Eric Lassiter. We had Dane Wisniewski at Horizon. We recently had Mike McDaniel at Olympia. We have Mike Scudero, who's now at West Orange, and we have Mike Sedone, who's across town over at Haggerty. So I think that's where we're at as far as Orlando coaches. David always jokes, he's like, "Hey, you got another Orlando coach for us." Yeah, I think that was.
But it's good because
we're at right now.
You guys have a rivalry up there. You know what I'm saying? You play each other. You know the kids in the area, yeah. So it's a good thing to learn about. And maybe we'll grab a bunch of coaches down here in this area. But I like the connection up there. I'm just gonna stick with Orlando.
Yeah. It's growing, and this side of town, as Dakoda would know, is just constantly growing, population wise too, on this west side of town. So the baseball talent, I think, is just getting better and better from where it was from 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm in the Mineola area with my wife, and it's crazy how much this place is growing. It's almost growing too fast with all the apartment buildings and housing. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So we've had a couple. You mentioned your relationship with Power. So yeah, we've had Lassiter on, and we've had Jesse Marlowe on. So we've had some good. And my son's playing with Team Orlando, so we've got a good connection with those guys there.
I would like to see you guys get Brian Dempsey on this podcast and see what that's like, because he's got a lot of unique experiences. That would be a fun one to tune into.
Be happy to. So we look forward to David looks forward to hearing from some more Orlando boys.
Listen, I have no problem with it. I think my connections have grown in Orlando more than here, so we're good.
Get you out there. Sounds good, man. So David, just want to plug a couple of things before we wrap up.
Yeah, one other thing I want to say is I forgot to mention earlier, Dakoda Grove is an awesome baseball name. Yeah, I mean, that's just like, you hear that name, that's baseball right there. No other sport is baseball, so that's a beautiful name.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
But we want to thank Easy Mortgage for just kind of being our sponsor for the podcast. We always share about our merch page. We just want to get that going. The more our merch page grows, like the hat he has on his head right now, we have a bunch of shirts, T-shirts, any type of gear. I mean, we just wanted to be a household name, Legends on Deck. And, Legends on Deck was just to give, guys like you, minor leaguers, other people in baseball, just a platform. We just want to get it out there. So anybody want to check out our merch page, the link is on the website. And other than that, we're just grateful to have you on the show, being young, coaching, changing the generation, being a Christian, really mentoring them, not only about baseball, just about life. These kids, maybe it's out of your whole squad, let's say you get 15 guys, I'm just throwing a number at you, that goes to college and 3 don't, but you change their lives and they go to do something else. You know, I believe in that, you know, and I believe that, you know, putting that faith into their hearts and kind of helping them along their life is huge. And baseball plays a big part of that as well. Growing up, adversity, you know, sticking through it, fighting through it, and that'll help you through life. So, you know, the best to you for this season. The other coaches might be upset, but I'm rooting for you to win. And hopefully I make it up there so I can kind of catch a few games. But good luck this year, man, and just keep doing what you're doing. You were made for this. Whatever happened in college that led you to this there was a purpose for that. So you were made for this. So many blessings to you.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me, and thank you for all the kind words. And then if you do end up making that trip to Orlando and you're at one of our games, let me know. I'd love to meet you in person.
Oh, you know, I'm definitely coming and shaking your hand. So remember the face.
Well, you
Oh, yeah.
even if you wait it out, he's coming down to Fort Myers, right, for the championships.
Wow, we got a long way before that ever happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's also into the plan for it too. So there you go.
That's right. So,
Oh, yeah.
all right. Well, Dakoda Grove, thank you so much for your time. The head coach at Foundation Academy here in Winter Garden, Florida. Episode 58, Legends on Deck podcast, moving along.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.